Brandon LaFell, the question of all questions, is he going to be cut? My assumption is no. They just paid him a roster bonus. I think it was $1 million back in March or April 1st, something like that, for remaining on the roster. It seems as if the Bengals are committed to him, but they might look at a wide receiver in those middle rounds, a Josh Malone type of situation that they grabbed in the 4th round. I don't know. Do you think LaFell's still safe for 2018, Scott?
I'd say as long as Lewis is coaching, he's definitely safe. He's definitely a veteran guy. Lewis is a veteran, and there's nothing. LaFell's a veteran. There's really nothing LaFell has done to cost him his job, at least as far as like someone like Lewis would be concerned. I mean, he's not a high-end, transcendent kind of prospect, kind of young. Fans tend to gravitate more to the younger, more upside guys, but he is a solid, stable, decent number 3 who's serving as our number 2. And I think until Lewis has any sort of confidence in putting Ross on the field and Boyd taking that next step, I think LaFell's going to be there. And it kind of makes you wonder, okay, someone like Josh Malone and these other guys they have, and even putting Alex Erickson, their wide receiver, when he was probably like their 5th or 6th guy. I think it shows he just doesn't have a lot of confidence in younger guys. I know they'll be in their 2nd and 3rd years. Maybe Boyd gets more play. Maybe Ross gets to see some playing time. Long answer short, I'm going to say yes. LaFell, barring an injury or barring something crazy, even if he gets arrested, I think he'd still be on the team, as we saw with Pac-Man a couple years ago.
For those of you who aren't listening to the show, aren't watching the show, and getting the video and are just listening to the audio, the extra voice you just heard is a product of quote unquote dad life, and Scott is being a good dad while also being a good podcast. He's juggling a lot, and your little guy is quite the character. He's very cute. I thought this was, and I can't believe I didn't see this earlier. I just kind of scrolled around and saw this one. You mentioned arrest, so Dean Burke. Do you guys think Johnny Football would be a better backup from day one as any guy we currently have behind Andy? And the guys they currently have behind Andy, Jeff Driscoll and Matt Barkley. Driscoll's the project guy, more of the athlete, is very raw as a quarterback. Barkley, pro-style offense in college and has had some start in the Pro League and all of that, but more of a reliable type of backup guy. I don't want Johnny Football anywhere near this team personally for a variety of reasons. I'm glad it seems he's getting his life back in order. Even though he was kind of a jerk in a number of different respects, he is getting a second chance. If he's truly turned himself around, I hope he runs with that second chance and stays out of trouble. But I don't trust that guy, and he's a little too much of an ad-libber for me in terms of what he does behind the line of scrimmage. And I don't know. But interesting question. What do you think about Johnny Football as the Bengals backup, Scott?
I think you kind of hit it well. He is an ad-libber without the talent to back it up. I mean, he's kind of like Brett Favre without the Brett Favre arm or, ability to do the things Brett Favre did, but kind of has that mentality. And I think in college you can kind of get away with it more because he had Mike Evans and was surrounded by some really good players. At the NFL level, he was exposed in that because he was a little smaller. He wasn't as running. His arm strength really wasn't as great as you would expect. And you said, I think he is who he is. It's great that he has gotten some of the worst demons, kind of pushed out of his life. But that being said, I still don't think he's a great prospect. I'm not really sold on Matt Barkley. I guess there's always a chance they draft a guy in the mid rounds. I still want to see what Jeff Driscoll can do. I was, from what we saw, obviously we didn't see all the practices, but what we saw in preseason, and I know they ran him a bit in preseason, but when he, all the reports were he seemed to be playing really well. He, finally had a chance. This is, I think, his make or break year. That either he's an NFL backup or he's not. And if he's not, I think they need to, move on. But they've kept him on the roster for a couple years for a reason. And I think that reason is they possibly see something. So I personally, I'd rather see what they have in Jeff Driscoll than see what we have in Manziel, because I think I know what there is in Manziel, and I just don't think it's, NFL worthy.
Yeah, I just don't think it's worth the headache. And this is a team that just not only needs immediate contributors in a number of different areas on their football team, but they need guys who are serious about football. And one of their best players can't seem to stay on the field regularly, be it from injuries or suspensions or whatever, in Vontaze Burfict. And I just don't think bringing more of those types of players in, especially at the most important position on your football team, well, the second most important position, I guess, backup quarterback, whatever, the most important position group on the team. I don't think it's a good idea. And the Bengals are already kind of, fair or not, they've already kind of got this reputation of housing these type of people, and I don't think that would go over well in a lot of different respects. Let's do one more, and then we'll get out of here. Let's see. There was a couple here. I guess we'll go with this one. It's from, I hope I'm saying this right, Taylor Esget. If somehow Calvin Ridley falls to the Bengals, would he be worth the pick? I'm assuming that means 21 overall. Calvin Ridley largely looked at as the best wide receiver prospect in this year's draft. Again, that kind of goes back to the first question about LaFell being cut and all of that. It depends on his development. It depends on Josh Malone's development. I would not want that pick at number 21, just like I don't think I would want a corner at number 21. I think this team needs different positions to be addressed. Your thoughts on Calvin Ridley potentially being the pick at 21, so like it?
I'll be honest, I really have not looked into him much, only because for the sentiment you kind of rang, there's really no reason that you want to see them draft a wide receiver with the first round pick. One, with all the other issues they have, especially offensive line, they have linebacker, they could improve at safety, so on and so forth. Plus, on top of that, you then have, you just spent a top 10 pick on a receiver last year. You used a second round pick on a receiver the year before. You've also invested multiple mid-round picks, late-round picks on guys like Cody Core, guys like Josh Malone. And then you still have, Brandon LaFell on the roster. So you've kind of done, you've kind of done a pretty full investment in wide receiver. That I think the last thing fans would want to see is another first-round pick on a wide receiver. I think it's one of those positions that, you just don't want to see them use in any shape or form, unless it's, the next Larry Fitzgerald. But if it's the next Larry Fitzgerald, or Calvin Johnson, still not what you need. Still might be a crazy pick.
There's not those guys in this draft. You know what I mean?
And that's not that guy. 21 if it is him. So I don't think there's any reason they should be looking at a wide receiver, I would hope, in the first 3 rounds.
Yeah, I think the earliest you look is maybe in the 3rd round, maybe with that compensatory pick, and I think that's more of a best player available. Say you got your center, you got your linebacker, you got your you got a defensive lineman, that sort of thing, maybe a secondary player. I think at that point maybe you can decide to go best player available, and maybe wide receivers in play there. But I think you're looking day 3 for a wide receiver. I think there's too many. It's so weird to say because this team is so deep in a lot of different areas, but I just, there are glaring needs, and wide receiver just does not appear to be one. Yes, they struggled getting guys to produce opposite of A.J. Green, but that was without John Ross. That was with a raw Josh Malone, and now you're hoping offensive coordinators back for a second consecutive season. Ross hopefully is healthy. He's been working out. Malone, second season in the system. Boyd, 3rd season in the with the Bengals. You kind of hope that things start to gel a little bit, and you know, you've invested, as Scott mentioned, significant draft capital over the past 2 drafts at wide receiver. I don't think you need to do it again this year. I think it's more, you know, day 3, maybe a project guy that could supplant a Cody Core on the roster, and Alex Erickson, maybe a return type of guy, an Alex Erickson replacement type of player. On day 3, you can do some special teams things, maybe be a project and be a contributor at some level. I think that's maybe what you look for as you address other needs on this in this class. This is the Orange and Black Insider Bengals podcast. We had John Sheeran on the program from SB Nation and Cincy Jungle. Thanks to him. Thanks to my co-host Scott Schultz. And we had another special guest, Scott's little one, joined the program and gave his 2 cents on some of the questions of the night. Thank you to everybody who tuned in live and who submitted questions. I have not, usually I say this throughout the program, but I have not done so yet. You can get this program in a number of different ways: on SoundCloud, on iTunes. All of our stuff's on cincyjungle.com. You can get in touch with the program via Twitter at BengalsOBI. You can get in touch with us via email, theobinsider@gmail.com. We appreciate all the support. We appreciate all of the feedback.